What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Famous stock investor Peter Schiff says, quote, Bidenomics and the Fed rate hikes have both failed and warns that markets are completely wrong and inflation will get worse. Yeah. And this comes as, interest rates are already, mortgage rates are already at 8%. The average credit card interest rate is at 25% and getting worse.
I think what was significant was the consumer spending and income number had a big spike in spending, but a very small gain in incomes. And the way consumers handled that was rating their savings. The savings rate plunged down to 3.5%. That's a sign that the economy is weak because consumers need that rainy day fund, right? Because it's raining, they're having a hard time. But also it shows that the Fed is not making any progress in its inflation fight because consumers keep spending and reducing their savings in spite of the rate hikes. The rate hikes are supposed to reduce spending and increase savings. That's how they bring down inflation, but nothing has worked. And so inflation is going to get worse. That's what the markets really have wrong. And in fact, look at oil prices today. We're above $85 a barrel and headed much higher. So this is stagflation. The economy is weakening. The labor market is weakening. And the Fed's at 5.5. They're no closer to getting 2% inflation than when they had rates at 0. Meanwhile, the budget deficits are higher now than they were when rates were at 0. So the government is spending more instead of less. So nothing has worked. And so we have to see spending cuts put through Congress, significant spending cuts. They're probably going to hike another quarter point or half point, but it's not going to make a difference. They already went from 0 to 5.5 and it hasn't done anything. So what's an extra quarter point or half point? It's nothing. We actually need much higher interest rates. The problem is we can't afford them. So any interest rate high enough to fight inflation is too high for the markets. And in fact, not only does the Fed create a recession, but it creates a financial crisis.
This comes as gas prices jump, as strikes in Australia begin. Yeah, take a look at what is happening here. Natural gas prices have jumped after strike action kicked off at two major liquefied natural gas facilities known as LNG in Australia. Remember that it's not just the US, this stuff is global. Gas is traded on a global scale. The walkouts in a row overpaying condition are taking place at Chevron's Gorgon and Wheatstone plants in Western Australia. The U.S. energy giant's two plants account for more than 5% of global LNG capacity. On Friday, wholesale gas prices in the UK rose by about 10% on the news alone. See how this stuff can literally affect prices all across the globe. And this is the problem, right? This is the problem. Prices are up this morning, but in a rather moderate way. I don't know if they think up by 10% is moderate. That seems like a lot to me. They said, quote, unfortunately, following numerous meetings and sessions before the Fair Work Commissions, we remain apart on key terms. You can also see here gas prices are going way up overnight, and they just might keep going up here again. Yeah, let me know here if gas is going up here in your area. Yeah, this is in Wisconsin. Yeah, so we're seeing it here pretty much everywhere. Yeah. This also comes here as we had a major earthquake in Morocco that killed more than 2,000 people. Yeah, that was pretty huge. Take a look here.
and its environs late last night. At least 1,037 people are confirmed dead. More than 1,000 others are injured following a rare 6.8 magnitude earthquake. It hit late Friday night in the province of Al Haouz, which is approximately 40 miles from the historic city of Marrakesh. That was the epicenter. Video shows severe damage from the villages in the Atlas Mountains all the way to Marrakesh. Buildings are toppled throughout the city. Rescuers are struggling to reach the remote villages that have been hit the hardest. This is the first earthquake of this magnitude to hit this area in more than 100 years. I want to get right to my colleague, NBC News foreign correspondent Matt Bradley. Matt, what do we know about the rescue efforts underway? We're still in the early hours, which means while they're finding more bodies, they could also find more survivors.
That's right. I mean, when I was here in Turkey back in February, and there was a devastating twin earthquakes here that killed tens of thousands of people, and wow, we really hope the numbers don't go up to that level. There were people who were being dragged out of wreckage 5-6 days afterwards, and that's something that we're hoping we could see in Morocco outside of Marrakesh. As you mentioned, this was a 6.8 earthquake on the Richter scale, and as you said, this is the strongest they felt in 123 years, that according to the U.S. Geological Survey.
Yeah, our thoughts and prayers go out to the hopefully many survivors that they can find and families that are already suffering here. The FDIC says it should have supervised the First Republic bank failure more closely. We've already had 5 bank failures this year, if I'm counting correctly, which I think I am, that are multi-billion-dollar bank failures here this year, just in the U.S. Just in the U.S. Yeah, the FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, said they should have been more aggressive in policing First Republic Bank risk management prior to its May failure. But it was unclear if that would have saved it given the speed with which depositors yanked their money, the agency said. FDIC said in its report published Friday that a loss of market and depositor confidence ultimately sank the California-based lender, which was the second largest bank to collapse in U.S. history. It also laid blame at the feet of the bank executives and its board, which it said ignored warnings that signs that interest rate risk was getting out of hand. This comes as the Fed keeps raising interest rates. However, the FDIC added that its supervisors were too generous in gauging some of First Republic's risk, notably around interest rates and uninsured deposits. Uninsured deposits over a period when the bank doubled in size, and regulators found the time its supervisors actually spent at the lender declined, raising questions about how the agency allocated its staff. Yeah, this comes here as a lot of people are still worried about the banks and the banking industry. If you've been watching my channel, I've been keeping you up to date here. In fact, I just did videos about Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and more. I'll link you to one of those videos here right now. As in fact, one of them just recommended a prison sentence for one of the banking executives who are, these banks just get away with criminal activities for what they're doing with our money, and they still do it. They still do it. So let me know your thoughts here. I'll keep you up to date. If you haven't yet, click the subscribe button and the bell icon down below so you don't miss out on any new videos. And thanks for liking and sharing these videos. Click here to see, though, the criminal activity that the banks are doing right now with your money. Or click here to see a very important announcement coming out here for Social Security and a raise. Click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.